Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine podcast. Today is June 8th, 2023, as we join you on an off day for the Cardinals. St. Louis sits at 25-37 with the worst record in the National League, 2-8 in their last 10. And we did just get to go see them lose a game in Texas. So this is where our lives are right now.
They should only be 36. 26 and 37.
My apologies. It is not updated. That's on me. Either way, it's terrible.
Yeah, they're in a bad way right now. We went into the weekend last weekend saying they had a chance to go into Pittsburgh, hopefully win 2 of 3, if not sweep, and get themselves back into a spot where not only does the division look, reachable, but getting back to 500 looks reachable. And, they got swept and then they lost 2 of 3. 1-5 road trip. Here, that's the problem. That's the problem with having such a bad start and digging yourself a hole is now you have no wiggle room. If they have one more bad stretch of games, they're done. It's over.
Also, my apologies to the Washington Nationals. They indeed are now the worst team in the National League. So we have crept out of that spot with the 1-0 victory yesterday. Look, here's the thing. Caleb and I were supposed to go to Houston, as you know. Caleb ended up, last podcast we got, he was sick. He stayed sick, did not get better. So we missed the Ohtani pitching, the Crawford box seat experience. However, we did get to go to Arlington. The stadium, beautiful, by the way. Really cool ballpark village-like area with Texas Live. Very well done. Right next to the alien spaceship that is where the Cowboys play, across the way from Six Flags and where the soccer team plays, the old stadium. Really cool experience. Our seats were incredible. Everything, good time. Just lost the game late. Some base running errors. It does just seem like everything they do right now is magnified. And we've talked about it before on here. When you're losing, it's hard to get out of a rut. And it seems like every single night it's something different or someone different or an instance that you think these guys are Major League Baseball players. What in the hell are they doing?
It's so weird because you look at the stats for the majority of players on the team, pitchers and hitters. It's like, well, they've either been good or they've been all right. Like they're not awful, but it seems like everyone has the off night. They take turns. So one night Gio's gonna blow a game, even though he's been great, and then the next night Helsley's gonna blow a game, and then it's Hicks or whoever, and it just the team just can't. I can't explain it. I don't know if there's problems in the clubhouse. I don't know if there's a lack of trust within the players. I don't know if there's a lack of trust within themselves, but I've never seen a team with this much talent on the roster find ways to blow games. Every other day, it seems like.
It sure does feel like we've said this before, but the baseball gods are really pissed off at the St. Louis Cardinals this year. I don't know what they did. Between the Albert Pujols. Like maybe they just gave us that and said, for this, here is your penance for the next year. You're going to have to endure literally everything that could go wrong will go wrong for the first 3 months of baseball. Maybe that's where we are. I don't know. I can't figure it out. The other night we're at the game. We're right in the left field. They don't have bleachers, but left field seats. Nolan hits the ball that almost gets out off the wall. You and I celebrating because for sure we've taken the lead until we look up. Nolan not paying any attention. Tommy not running. It was the wildest thing. There was no reason 2 runs don't score on that. Next thing you know, lose the game, 9th inning, over.
And then they blame Nolan Gorman for it in the post game. And while I get it because he didn't do the right thing, I still don't think Nolan Gorman should have had anything to do with Tommy not scoring. No. I don't think he definitely didn't have anything to do with Arenado running with his head down, not picking up what's going on in front of him and running a guy off the bases. Like you can't do that. And like it shows the lack of awareness because Nolan's a smart base runner, but to run to third, not only to run to third, but to touch the base. And then he tried to go back and he was like, oh, wait, I can't do that. So now I'm stuck here. So it's just, I don't know. Everyone's trying to do too much. And that sums up the season because even when you get the biggest hit in the last couple weeks that could get your team rolling, you end up making a mistake on the same play that ends up losing your team the game, basically. So it's wild.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something that I don't think it's Cardinal fans. I was there in the 90s. I remember the 90s. I don't ever want to go back to that 90 to 95 era at all. But that's what this is reminiscent of, even though this team dramatically, leaps and bounds, more talented than those teams in the 90s. They were spending no money on anybody. If it weren't for Ray Langford, a little bit of Greg Jeffries, and a few pitchers here or there in the 90s, that would have been almost unwatchable baseball. So it is a very odd situation that's going on. Let's talk about it a little bit. And we've talked about the clubhouse. I'm not going to speculate. Everybody seems to want to speculate on what's going on in there. We can't. Were you taken a little bit aback by the lack of reaction to Jordan Walker's homer, and then the overall lack of reaction to finally getting that monkey off your back last night and getting the win as you leave town in Texas?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on it. One, the Jordan Walker thing, I wasn't too surprised because I think that kind of signifies how they feel. Is it's like, yeah, these guys within two, but we're gonna find a way to lose this game. I think that's how they feel because that's how they're playing. And then yesterday, I don't really, not really, I don't think, because I think there's still like we have so far to go and we're still not like we won a game, cool, but we're 11 games under 500. It's still hard to get excited about that. And when you dig yourself out of the rut you were in, not completely, but most of the way out of the rut, and then you fall right back in. I mean, I don't. That's hard. That's tough on you mentally, and that they're obviously feeling it. And you were talking about the clubhouse. There was a story that came out from Mike Claiborne, who's there, travels with the team, I believe, that some player, he didn't name the player. You could probably guess who's on the short list of who would do this, but there were guys playing ping pong before a game, I guess, and he went in, took the ping pong paddles and threw them away, and said, "We're not doing any of this until we figure this out." I don't know who that was. I won't speculate. But I do think there's a lot of I don't know the right word, but tension in the clubhouse between people.
So a lot of reports out there that was Ollie. That was not Ollie. You're saying that was a player who did that. Yeah,
Ollie wouldn't do that.
that's what right.
Who said
Just
what
wanted to-
report said that was Ollie?
I don't mean reports. I mean people out there putting that on Twitter and things, social media.
No, like the way he said a player did it, and Ollie wouldn't go into the clubhouse and do that.
Agreed. Just wanted to get that cleared up. That's why I was saying that. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about the state of the roster a little bit. And do you have where do we stand on Lars, DC, and Tyler?
Well, DC could be back Friday, tomorrow, the next game. They said they wanted to play the outfield today, I believe, is what they said. And if everything goes well, he should be back. Tyler, I don't know if he'll ever be a Cardinal again. We'll see what happens with him. Like, it's just honestly, like, that's where I'm at. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, whatever. As of right now, anything he gives you is a bonus, and that's sad to say, but it's just the truth. And Newt, I think they said he was hitting again. So that's a good sign when you're swinging a bat with your back being injured. We need him. I mean, we need him back bad. Like, I know he's not going to come back and fix all the problems, but losing maybe your third best, most consistent hitter this year, that's a big blow. So we need him back more than anybody else.
I also feel like his energy, like I spend a lot of time watching these other teams and then watching the recaps of a lot of these other teams, and you just see the enthusiasm within the moments of the game, within the team, within the dugout, within all of that when another player does well. And it just feels like this team is not, again, speculation, me from 35,000 feet looking in. It just doesn't feel like this team is here at all. Like it just appears that there's and again, it could be the pressures of the game. It could be the pressures of you were losing, you had a terrible April, you started to turn it around, and then all of a sudden you go right back into it. I don't know the answer. I'm not even going to try to come up with an answer. Everybody else can figure that out or do that on their own. They'll all be wrong, but you can do it. It just feels like when you watch some of these other teams, I mean, we're getting ready to welcome in Cincinnati. That team is vibing right now. Like that team is absolutely gelling. Ellie De La Cruz is an absolute star. You saw Benson hit his first home run last night. You saw Cruz hit his first home run. De La Cruz hit his first home run. There's energy. There's energy back in that city, back in that stadium, around the team, but also in the clubhouse. And David Bell's got the boys. I mean, they're buzzing right now.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, it's not gonna be easy. Like, I think I read something the other day where it was like every team in the National League, or at least the National League Central, has been wanting to beat the Cardinals. Like they haven't been able to because the Cardinals have been so good for so long, except for the Brewers. But they've been wanting to find a way to beat the Cardinals. And now that there's blood in the water and they're smelling it, and there's a team that's limping its way through this season, they're coming at you. Like you saw the Pirates the other day. They gave you everything. They've got David Bednar through 3 games in a row to shut you out and sweep you. So no one's gonna give you an easy win. Like at this point, like you're tied or maybe half a game better than the worst team in the National League. So there's no gimme series right now. Teams are coming in and thinking we should sweep you. We should win 2 out of 3 from you because you're a bad team. So I don't know how to get out of this. And I think this is something I want to get to. And I think we should talk about Ollie later. I was gonna say that earlier, but I forgot. But I think how do they get out of this? And two, do you think that they have the right pieces, the right leadership, and everything to find a way to get themselves back to 500 at any point this season?
I mean, what are we, 11 games under 500 right now? Is that right? I mean, that's going to be a tough task. Look, here's the thing. Let's just kind of walk it back a bit as I answer your questions. You know how my head goes. You had the 19-game streak. Everybody said, oh, they're struggling at the end of this because they're exhausted. Thank God for 2 days off. Well, you got the 2 days off. Then you came out flat as fuck and went 1-5 over your next 6, including being swept by the Pirates, and could have been. John Gray was incredible last night. Could have been swept by the Rangers. Now, people could also retort, could have won 2 of 3, had an opportunity to do that. I understand that as well. However, and also up 5-1 against the Pirates and blow that game. So
5-0.
there was that as well. 5-0, sorry. But there's the fan in me wants to say, yes. Like, yes, this team can still go on a run, because when you look at the pieces, you've got the reigning MVP. You've got Nolan, who, by the way, is starting to figure it out and starting to come out of it. You're going to get healthy with Carlson and Nootbaar back. You've got Jordan Walker up here on this team. Gorman's going through a little bit of a rest stretch, but he's still taking overall, not every time, but overall pretty good at bats. Obviously we saw the absolute bomb he hit the other night. So, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that as far as can they, because in my mind, as a fan, as a Cardinal fan, I've seen the 17-game winning streak. I've seen the Brewers collapse. It just feels like this year, you don't need just the Brewers to collapse. Like, you need the Reds, who are up and coming, to also plateau and drop. You need the Pirates. And I'm not saying they won't. Those teams historically have not played well in the second half, but these do seem like new Pirates teams. It does seem like a new Reds team, who also, by the way, is going to get healthy and get guys back. Is it enough? If I were a betting man and I were laying money on FanDuel, I'm not laying money for the Cardinals to make the playoffs in 2023. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is a problem in that clubhouse. I don't know if the pieces together are not greater than the sum of the team. Is that or whatever, you know what I'm trying to say there. The team's not greater than the pieces. I think that's where I was trying to go with that. I don't know the answer. Right now, I would say I don't see how this team gets out of it and gets into the playoffs, because when your pitching's going well, which, by the way, starting pitching much better. Jack's been incredible. Miles has been unbelievable. Waino pitched well the other night. He's still getting hit hard. Every ball that's up is going to get destroyed. We don't know what to expect from Libby or Monty. It feels like Monty was better the other night, but we don't know what to expect from either one of those two. That feels those like, no. So when 3/5 your rotation, you don't have any idea. I've said this all year. It's hard to go on a streak when you have that problem.
Yeah, I think I feel better about Monty than I guess you do. Like I would say I feel good every start with Monty, Miles, and Jack. Better about Jack and Miles, but I feel good about your chances to be in the game by the time they're out of it. Like Libby, we'll see. He's got to control like he has those innings where it just breaks apart, falls apart on him. He's got to stop doing that. Waino, he's gonna give you a chance to win. Like every start, even if they haven't been great, he's giving you a chance to win. I don't know. I don't know the answer to my own question. Do I think they have a chance? I do. I do think they have a chance, because you look at it, any sweep, like if you were to just go in there, I know the Reds are playing good baseball right now, and I don't think they're going to sweep, but if they were to go in there and come home and win and sweep the Reds and then win 2 or 3 from the Giants, now you're looking up and you've just gained 4 games. So now you're 7 games under, and then that's one good stretch away from being right where you want to be. So while I don't think, like, if I were betting, no, I wouldn't bet on the Cardinals right now. But there is just so much baseball still. There's still 99 games left in this season, to where I'm not going to write them off. I'm not going to be the fan that stops watching.
No, me neither.
Says they can't do it. I do think they can. The problem is, and where I get a little bit concerned, is they kind of were doing it, and then we still saw them fall back. They had the momentum, and then they went into Cincinnati and laid an egg, and then they went into Cleveland and laid an egg, and then they split 2 games against the Royals, in which they didn't play well in either game. So while I still believe they can do it, we haven't seen this offense have a good game, and like a good complete game, since LA. Like, I know they scored 4 or 5 that first game against Pittsburgh. They scored only in 1 inning that game. That was it. So I don't know what's going on with the offense, but they've got to figure that out. They've got to mix things up. I don't understand how when we're going well, and this is where I'll criticize Ollie. When we're going well, it seems like we don't have the same lineup ever. Like it's changing all the time. But when we're playing poorly, the lineup hasn't changed in 5 days. Like I don't understand that. I don't understand why Jordan Walker is just penciled into the 8 hole.
I was gonna just ask
Like,
you that.
I'm
Just
not
was
saying
gonna
he
ask you
has
that.
to bat second, but why not try and bat him sixth one game? Why not try it? I know Burley just hit the homer, but bat him seventh. Like he shouldn't be stuck in an 8 hole. I don't get it. It's weird.
Uh, and I assume it's matchup based, but Lukin comes back and goes 3 for 8 and then sits for 2 straight games. Like I'm not saying again, I'm very happy that Lukin Baker is in the bigs. Shout out to him. I'm not saying he's the end all be all, but it does feel like you get a guy going. You know how baseball is. Once you're like let's ride the hot hand for a little bit.
He wasn't
The end
hot.
of Well, 3 for 8 is a great start.
He
That's almost
struck out and he
500.
had struck out 4 times.
Okay. First of all, you love to bring up strikeouts. I ignore those anymore.
He
Everyone
struck out
strikes out
50,
all the
that's
time.
50% of the time. And
I
here's the
get
thing:
it.
he was brought up to hit left-handed pitching. He wasn't brought up to
Okay.
hit right-handed pitching.
But
And
you're
also, if you're going to say that and you want to be fair, we might have lost that game yesterday if Alec Burleson's not playing.
I'm not saying he should have been over, bro. I didn't say that.
That's what it would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been the move.
Well, I'm just simply saying when you put him on the bench again after you got a guy hitting and your offense is struggling, the inability to move other guys who are struggling, like that's the problem. I think the fans
I
see
get
it
what
that
you're
way.
saying, but he's up here to hit left-handed pitching.
I
He's
got
not up
you.
here to hit John Gray. Like that's not what
Yeah.
he's here for.
Well, no one was hitting John Gray last night except Burley
Alec
got
Burleson,
dropped the head of the bat and got one out.
the
Yeah,
guy that
was
would
it.
have been out for
Yeah.
Baker is the guy that got him. So,
But let's also be fair. Alec Burleson has not been good lately. Like that was great. We love that, and I'm happy for him. But let's not act like he was riding the hot hand there with Alec Burleson. So
no, but
it did work out. It did work out. The other thing that, like we've been talking about all this, it just feels like you know that the players have to feel this way. That even when you and I talked about this the other day, when they get down, it feels like game over. When they get up, it feels like they know, what is coming now. That's how it is right now. And this is what they did all of April. And now we're right back smack dab into the middle of it. And you just can't play baseball trying not to lose instead of going out there every night and trying to win. And that's what it feels like this team is doing. And it did feel like last night when they, you see the pictures of nobody really celebrating. It was almost like a relief. Like, oh, we finally won. Not an excitement, not a joy, not anything, not a celebration with your teammates or of your teammates. It was a collective sigh of, oh, thank goodness we finally won a game. We didn't screw it up. That you cannot, like, that's what tells me this team somewhere in there, this team can't go on a long run because that's how it does feel they play the game.
Yeah, but it's kind of like to me like when you're a hitter and you're in a long slump and you get the hit that makes you 1 for your last 20. You don't really necessarily get too excited, but it is a relief that you got the hit. That's kind of the same way I feel about what they're going through. And I don't know the answer. I think you could really use, what would be really great for this team if Wilson Contreras got hot.
Yes.
And you could use his energy. If Nolan Arenado got hot and was energized, like those two guys, if those two guys could go for a week, that's how you propel a team back into winning. But you need that to happen. You need your stars to do it. And it's not a coincidence that when Nolan Arenado was going well, this team was going well. He cooled off again. Then we went 1-5. Like that, it's not a coincidence that that's what happens. He is the catalyst in this lineup. Paul Goldschmidt was the MVP last year, rightfully so. But Nolan Arenado brings the fire that nobody else other than Wilson brings. And I think he really energizes his team. They rally around him. So he needs to be better. Like I know he's had a couple good games. He had a homer. He had that big double that he ended up kind of ruining. But he needs to be consistently that guy that scares you. When we go through the middle of this order, like, we were at the game, like you said. And when Marcus Semien rolls around and it's like, oh shit, here comes Semien, Seager, Lowe, and Adolis Garcia, it's kind of like, oh shit, like find a way to get through these four. I don't feel like the other teams are feeling that way when it's, Goldie, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras, and they should, because those are 4 hitters that should scare the shit out of you. But it's always like 2 or 3 of them are off at any given time. You need to get your identity back. And I think the identity of this lineup is the middle of the order. While it's not going to carry you every game, it's going to be the anchor. Like it's going to be the thing you can rely on every day. You can rely on Goldie, Nolan, both Nolans and Contreras to give you some support every day. And it hasn't been going that way, and they're losing games because of it.
Yeah. And you look at the bullpen, it seems like there hasn't been consistency. But over the last couple of weeks, I mean, Jordan Hicks has been great the last month. Chris Stratton, very good the last 2 weeks. Honestly, Steven Matz out of the bullpen the last week has 1.8 ERA. It does seem like that's a really good fit for Steven Matz right now. I do question not using him in certain situations in the past. I do still kind of question the move when we were at the game, bringing Helsley in that early when you had Gio. Like there are a lot, but it does feel like you've got like the guys in the bullpen, and it does feel like whatever Ollie has done, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work out, no matter what it is. Everybody's screaming, "Oh, you should have brought in our Gio." But then when he brings in Gio and he gives up 5 runs, well, why did you bring in Gio? Like that's where it is. Even though Gio had been obviously one of the best arms we have out there, you can't throw Hicks every night. Now Hicks missing 2 nights in Texas did hurt them. Did you hear? I don't know what happened if he was down. I know he threw back-to-back for 2 games, but he shouldn't have been down for 2 nights. They did not use him in either game, and one they obviously should have used him, the game we were at on Monday night.
Could have been one of those situations where he threw 3 times in 4 days, and then you really don't want to make it 4 and 6. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So even if you throw that 6th day, you've still now thrown 4 times in 6 games. I don't know if that's the case. I haven't looked at his game log, but I would assume there's something like that where they just really wanted to stay away from him. Because Hicks, like we know, like, yeah, he's a very reliable reliever and we like to get him out there a lot, but he's still been injury prone every single year of his career, basically. So you do want to preserve him when you can, but they definitely could have used him a couple of those games. But I haven't heard any explanation, but I would assume it's something like that.
Back to the rotation, just to kind of give our viewers and listeners a little context. By the way, thank you for tuning in. It's nice to be back. We did take one. Caleb had malaria or whatever, Ebola, whatever he had, that he was down and out for a while. We could not go to Houston. Glad that he's healthy. Look at you, much better. Glad to hear that. So it's nice to be back. While you're tuning in, obviously you can find us on our socials here, on Twitter at Caleb Noble 08, at Mike Noble 8 or 08. I don't even know what my handle is, but it's one of those. And then obviously at the Hard 9 podcast, we're on there as well. You can also find us on Facebook, up over 500 follows on Facebook. So that's good. And then as always, hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to get to that 500 mark. So if you guys could help us out, we would greatly appreciate that. But with that starting rotation over the last month, only 2 guys in that rotation with an ERA under 5.7. That's rough. Like that is really rough. Flaherty's been great, 1.5 over his last month. Michaelis 1.6, but then you get to Waino at 5.74, Monty at 5.76, and Libby at 6. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to go out there. That's a month. That's not like 2 weeks. That's not 2 starts. That's a whole month of rotation where you played 19 in a row. Now you're back. It's hard to go out there when 3/5 of your rotation is going to give up 5 runs or 4 runs in 6 innings or 4 runs in 5 innings. And then all of a sudden your bullpen is taxed. And then when you need them, when Jack or Miles go 7, they're exhausted. That's what tells me I don't see what you do to make this team go on a run. Unless Waino gets better and doesn't keep getting abs. I mean, we were there. Some of those balls hit early in that game were absolutely destroyed. He got lucky on a few. Donovan made a few really nice plays on Monday night. Liberatore did not look good. Monty was a little bit better through 4 or 5, but then he kind of fell apart. I just don't know how this team goes on a run with the starting pitching that Mo has assembled. I just don't see it.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be hard. They're gonna have to slog. Like that's what this team's built to do. And the frustrating thing is the rotation over the last 2 weeks has been solid. There's been some clunkers here or there, but it's been overall pretty solid. And that's when you start losing games. Like you had games against the Dodgers where you're winning 16-8 or whatever it was, and now you have games where you're losing 3-2, and it's like you can't do that if your rotation is going to give you a chance in any given game. Because they've been so shaky this year, you've got to capitalize on it, and they're not. And that's a lot of pressure to put on an offense that they have to be good every night, because you need to win games by a lot, and you need to make sure if you keep the team to 3 or less runs that you win those games, because it's going to be few and far between. It's tough, but the offense has been the problem. Like that's what I've seen lately. Like it's been the offense. They've been very inconsistent. They're not putting together rallies. They don't seem to trust each other. The motto, trust the guy behind you. You don't have guys just getting on, looking to get on base. Like it's hard to watch. Like it seems like everyone's trying to be the hero again. Like when you could just get on base, like get on base for the guy behind you. And that's an infectious thing to do. And even like you start the game off with Donovan every day. he's lost his way with that. He's not walking very much anymore. So they don't have that catalyst. And the guy that was that guy is Lars Nootbaar, and he's
Yep.
gone, and the offense has gone completely quiet since then.
To be fair, I wanted to just also to be fair to Jordan Montgomery because he deserves it. Over his last 15 days, over his last, I guess, 3 starts, 2.5 ERA. That's really, really good. Everybody else below the 5 point as far as the other two. Miles Jack and Monty have been good the last 15 days. But yeah, with the offense, I just don't understand how, I mean, it feels like 3-4 months ago, we were sitting in this exact same spot talking about how excited we were for a Tyler O'Neill bounce back, how Dylan Carlson was probably going to do whatever Dylan Carlson was going to do. Jordan Walker was going to make the team and do whatever. One thing I'd like to say, and this is not a shot at Jordan Walker, but boy, watching Ellie De La Cruz come on the scene, it feels like that was the number one prospect in baseball. That's what it feels like to me. If we're going to be honest, that's what it feels like to me. Hey, if you're the number 2 guy, that's great, but it sure did. I mean, what he has done immediate impact. It's only 2 games. He could go in an 0 for 40 slump. We know that. But on the immediate impact, welcome to the big leagues. That dude looks and feels legit.
A little bit recency bias because Walker.
Well, yeah, that's why I said
what
that.
I'm saying is Walker did start his career with
He did.
one of the longest hitting streaks ever by a 20-year-old. So, like, if we're being fair, Ellie De La Cruz's first 3 games, while very good, he's not on the 13-game hitting streak or whatever Walker went on. But yeah, I get it. I mean, he's one of the most talented prospects I've ever seen. I don't know. You need a guy like Walker or Burleson or any of the guys who's just kind of been meh. Tommy's been fine, but I'm talking about guys that like you don't expect. Like you need someone like that to step up and be one of the guys. I know they got Gorman to do it, but you need Jordan Walker to take the job and run with it. I know it's unfair because he's 21 years old, but that's what this team needs. They need somebody to be that spark plug. You need Jordan Walker to go on a stretch where maybe it's only for a week, but maybe it's 3 homers in that week. And maybe they're big time homers that give you a lead or like revitalize a clubhouse or something. But you need somebody to do that. And it feels like the Cardinals last year, they always had a guy that was carrying them. I mean, they won the player of the month 3 different times. Like Nolan won it twice and Goldie won it once. So you always had some guy that could at least carry you for a series. Like at least take a series and hit 4 home runs and you win 2 games because of it. They haven't had a performance like that at all from anybody this season. Other than I guess Gorman and against Los Angeles. But other than that series, you haven't had a series where a guy's really gone up there like, man, this guy's red hot. You don't want to throw him anything. And they need somebody to step up, whether that's Goldie or that's Nolan, either the Nolans, Wilson, or it's a guy like Walker. Whoever it needs to be, they need somebody to get red hot, and it hasn't really happened.
Yeah, and I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit. You don't need all 8 or all 9. I was just counting the DH, but all 9 in your lineup. You don't need them hitting. You just need 3 at a time. And it feels like we haven't even gotten to 3 at a time. If Goldie's hitting, then maybe it's Gorman, but it's nobody else. If Goldie's not hitting, then maybe it's just Gorman. Now you got Nolan going a little bit. But like you said, Brendan Donovan's struggle. I mean, his offensive numbers, they're average. Tommy's are fairly average. Thank God. Hey, first of all, shout out to Tommy for moving to center field. Like that's not easy either, folks. You come in thinking you're going to be the everyday shortstop. Next thing you know, now you're being the second baseman. Now you're in left field. Now you've moved over to center field. What he's done and played all of them incredibly well is incredibly valuable. I just kind of want to get a few of your takes here. If the Cardinals continue, I don't think they continue to play this poorly, by the way. But if they continue,
you said that 2 months ago.
That's true. That's fair. But if they do you see a scenario? I know that most said they're not going to be sellers. First of all, before I even preface the question, Paul Goldschmidt's not getting traded. Stop with that, please. If you trade Paul Goldschmidt, then you're trading. You're in a complete rebuild. That means Nolan's gone. That means you're probably dealing with Contreras. Like what? Stop with that. You're not going to get the haul that you think you are for Paul Goldschmidt.
Yes,
He's not going anywhere. Well,
reason.
I don't know.
You would.
But either way,
you don't think the Padres would trade you a shit ton for Paul Goldschmidt right now?
They don't have anything, Caleb.
They have a top 20. It doesn't matter. We're not trading it.
Right. That's
but
what
yes,
I'm
you
saying.
Get a lot for him if you wanted to.
But my point is, it's not happening. They're not that far away. This is an anomaly. It feels like. It doesn't feel like this is the future of the organization. It feels like this is an anomaly for the team. If this happens again next year, then we can talk about that. But I don't see it. But do you see? I mean, you've got expiring contracts with Montgomery and Flaherty. You've got other guys who probably could get you a return back. Guys like O'Neill, I don't know what that is. I have no clue. Guys like Dylan Carlson. Do you think that they look at dealing some of those pieces? Or do you think they're going to play this thing out until the last out of game 162 in hopes that they can get right back in it. Even if it is late July, you still have August and September. I mean, I don't know that any team is going to bury anybody in this division.
This might be unpopular, but I wouldn't trade people for multiple reasons. One, because if you trade a guy with half a year left, you're getting some low level or mid tier prospects that may never pan out, and you're not a rebuilding team, so you don't really need, and you have elite prospects in your organization, so you don't really need a mid tier outfield prospect. Like that's not going to help you much. But my other point would be if you have any chance of re-signing Montgomery or Flaherty, which I'm going to assume they're going to try and go after one of them. I think they're going to go after Flaherty and try and get him back. You trade him, you're trading him forever. He's gone. And if you believe you can win next year, then you go after Flaherty and you try and bring him back, or you can go after Jordan Hicks and say, hey, you want to come back for 3 years or 2 years on a reliever deal. So I get the point of it because people kind of look at it like baseball's just so different. Like it's not like hockey where you can trade Ryan O'Reilly for a first round pick. Like that are way more valuable than some mid-level prospect you would get. I just don't see it that way. I don't think the organization needs to go in that direction. I don't think you're going to get the prospects some fans think they're going to get for these guys. As good as I think Jack Flaherty is, he's still kind of a flyer. You don't know, is he going to be healthy for you down the stretch? Like, what's he going to be when he's up to his highest workload he's been at in 4 years? Like, it's a risk for teams, and I don't think people understand that. Now, if we're way out of it and you look up and we're 15 games out of first place, 10 games out of a playoff spot, and Jordan Montgomery is a guy I would look to deal. That would be the guy. But Jack Flaherty, if you want to bring him back and you have any desire to even at least explore it, you can't trade him. If the Cardinals have no desire to bring him back, then yeah, you trade him. But I'm still holding. I hope we don't have to get to that spot. At the end of the day, I don't think you can let the front office off on sell pieces is not good enough. They need to be adding pieces at the deadline for next year, because they're still going to be in a hole. And we know they're not going to go spend on Aaron Nola. We know they're not going to go spend on Shohei Ohtani. So if there's a Dylan Cease available, even if it's not going to help you win the World Series this year, you've got to go get him, because you're going to be out of guys for next year. And if you don't go get pitching, you're going to be back in the same spot again next year. And it's going to be a never ending cycle. So I think they might even buy, even if they're not buying for this year.
Yeah, it's funny that you say if they don't go get pitching. We've been saying that for 8 years now, and they've yet to do it. So let's see if that happens. I know that for one, and I assume I'm speaking for you here. Well, you kind of already said it, so I'm not speaking for you. I would be all to bring Jack Flaherty back. So you go into next year, you've got Flaherty, you've got Miles. Hopefully you've got Liberatore. I don't know. I still don't know what to think about Matthew Liberatore. He was great in Memphis. He was great early on. Velo's down all of a sudden, and he's not using all of his pitches like he was early on. I don't know if he's scared to throw those. I just don't know. I'm not going to speculate.
I'll give him some time.
It's early,
a few more
right?
Starts.
It's early. Agree. Just knocked my microphone over. It's early. I agree with that. I'm just saying we don't know right now. You don't know what's going on. And I just worry about it. I mean, one, I've heard a lot of people say Dylan Cease probably not getting traded, but if he does, it just feels like, man, there's going to be so many teams in on him. Are you willing to grossly overpay to get a guy like Dylan Cease by giving up? I mean, you're going to have to give up a Tink Hence or a Mason Wynn to get Dylan Cease potentially. I don't know that. Obviously, I don't know the players involved. I'm simply guessing that it's going to cost, because you're going to be in against the Yankees. You're going to be in against the Orioles. You're going to be in against the Rangers. Two of those three have great farm system. You could be in against the Diamondbacks, who, by the way, also great farm system. You're going to be in against the Dodgers, who also, by the way, great farms. Like
Ever contender. Just say ever.
Right.
Contender.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes,
like,
but I don't. Here's the thing. I don't give a shit, because you have the guys to give up. There are limits. Obviously, this organization is not in the spot to say we're going all in at all this year for sure. But I don't care. I think it doesn't have to be Dylan Cease, by the way. It's just a guy.
No, I understand.
But you need to go get somebody. I don't care. I'm tired of hearing it was too much. Okay, well, I think they're lying half the time when they say that stupid shit, because they said that they wanted the entire city of St. Louis for Sean Murphy, and he gets traded for no one in the top 100 prospect list. So is that really the case? Are they lying? Are they just unwilling to give up anybody? I'm not saying go give up Mason Wynn. Like I don't really have any desire to give up Mason Wynn. But if there is somebody out there available and he's attainable for a reasonable price, anywhere close to reasonable, and you might have to stretch a little bit and close your eyes and press the button to say deal, fine, but you've got to do something. And if they're saying, okay, we're going to go after Aaron Nola in the offseason and we're going to keep our guys, great. I'm okay with that too. But you've got to go do something. And I don't know if they have a plan. And that's the scariest thing because one, I think they're blindsided by what's happening. And two, I think they have zero fucking clue how to fix it for this
Yeah.
year or next year. I think that's where they're at.
I also think, Caleb, to be fair, it's fair to say that they will go after Aaron Nola until somebody who is willing to pay more than they are goes after Aaron
Goes
Nola,
after him hard.
and then they will be done, right? So I think it is fair to say, oh, we went after. That's what they'll say. We went after Aaron Nola,
And then he's gonna
but
end up on the IL.
but the market just ended up being too much for what we wanted to spend. And if you look at the guys, they're hurt. Well, Pablo Lopez, you could have got him via trade. I'm not saying they would have. You would have had to grossly overpay. You would have. I get it. I'm not. All I'm saying is there. John Gray, you came on this very podcast and talked about how that's a guy you would have gone after, that you didn't have to go after the big names. John Gray would have been a guy. Let's look at John Gray. Nathan Eovaldi was a guy. I never was very high on that. I don't know that you were either, but other people were. That had to be a guy. Did they do their due diligence? Did they not like what they saw? Like, those are all questions I really want to know. I'll never know the answers, but I'd love to know.
I was really high on Nathan Eovaldi, the talent. Just the injuries were scary to me, and they still would be. But his talent, man, he was an ace in Boston of every sense of the word for a few years.
Do you think we have to stop saying the injuries scare me when you're talking about starting pitchers? Like,
no.
I mean, you see what happened to DeGrom, and that was heartbreaking. No. Like, and that really, as a baseball fan and as a human, just watching the emotions from those, that was as raw and as like natural as a human athlete could be right there. Like, if that didn't tug at your heartstrings, but I mean, I came on here quite a bit and said, don't trade for Frankie Montas. Don't sign Carlos Rodon. If you could have got him at a good deal, I was all in on Carlos Rodon. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't going to I'll pay what the Yankees paid for him. So I understand that, but at some point, like, it just seems like every pitcher you look at, there are injury histories with in today's game.
Not everyone, but the ones that have the injury histories, like, I remember we came on here and the DeGrom thing was awful. I really feel for the guy. This isn't his fault. I don't know. It just seems like his talent is almost too much for his arm, if that makes sense. Like, he almost has too good a shit and he throws it too often for his arm to keep up. I hope he recovers and comes back and he's dominant for the remainder of that deal. But like, we came on here and I said, doesn't it seem like most of these deals are guaranteed to be bad for the team?
Yeah. They do.
That was my thought. My thought was the DeGrom deal is almost guaranteed to end up being an albatross. The Rodon deal, while there might be 2 or 3 good years, which may not even happen now, I hope he's all right, but he hasn't even thrown a baseball yet this year. It seemed like that deal was almost guaranteed to really handicap. Really, the Yankees don't want to handicap them, but at least hurt them. At least, be somewhat of a nuisance to them. So I don't think you need to disregard and say, well, they're going to get injured, so we just have to go with it. That's not how I would run it, because I think that's how you get in a really, really bad spot. But you do have to be willing to take chances here and there. You just got to do it with the right guys. Like, Nathan Eovaldi was the right guy for the Rangers to do that with. John Gray was the right guy for him to do it with. Like, you've got to be able to take chances, but you got to know who to do it with. The Cardinals don't have that track record. They tried to do it with David Price. That would have been a disaster. Like Boston Red Sox got less of a package for Mookie Betts because they wanted him gone so bad because of his contract. That's a big market team that did that. So they've got to be smart with this, but they're going to have to they're going to have to pay somebody. I don't know who.
Yeah. It's wild too. Like, we talk about future trades and that's, it seems like so far the trade deadline, it's 6 weeks away. Like, that's not that far away. 7. I'm not great at math, somewhere in there. 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks away. But if you look at it, I think it's going to be so interesting. We'll track this obviously over the next 7 weeks. But right now, if you look through the playoff scenario or the standings, you have a lot of teams who still are not even close to being out of this. And I don't think are going to be come July. If you look at the AL Central, I mean, you've got 4 teams within 4 games of each other. Like, so, we're talking about Dylan Cease, we're talking about Giolito. They've talked about maybe Lance Lynn, maybe Michael Kopech. They're
playing good baseball.
I was going to say, they're going to be right there in the thick of it. You look in the NL Central, the Pirates, the Cubs aren't dealing anybody. They're not going to deal any of that. Pitchers, you think?
They're going to deal the Bellingers. They're going to be good. Those guys.
I'm talking about pitching. I'm only talking about pitching right now.
Well, even if they were, we won't get them.
Yes. So, but if you look at the Central, like Cincinnati's got really good young pitching. Obviously, they lost Lodolo, but you look at their bullpen, it's been really, especially the back end, really good. They've got Hunter Green, they've got Ashcraft, they've got guys like that who they're not getting rid of. They could be looked to be. I think you're going to have a lot more teams looking to add then maybe looking to sell this year, which is going to make for a very intriguing seller's market, I think,
which is where if the Cardinals are out of it, if that is the case, and it's such a buyer's market, we'll say, or seller's market, it'd be a seller's market at that point.
That's why I said seller's market.
Yeah, no, I said it wrong.
Yeah.
If that's where you could see the Cardinals really being able to capitalize on a Jordan Montgomery. I don't want to say Jack Flaherty. I get it. Like, I think they should do all they can to extend him, like do it over the All-Star break, bring him back. That's what I would do. If he's just like, I'm going to free agency, I can't guarantee you that I'm even going to entertain coming back, then that's where you get rid of him. But I would do all I can to make sure that he's here. That's where you can really capitalize on this. I don't really want to get into that yet, because I think if come July we're in that spot, we'll have a lot of episodes to talk about who to sell and what to do. And right now, I think they need to focus on how to get back into contention. The question I have, as we just talked about, it seems like the National League, like you've got the Braves and the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks kind of standing up above the rest right now. Everyone else is bunched into a little group. Does that give you more or less hope that the Cardinals can get back into that group? Like, even if, you got some of these teams that are 4 games under 500, they're all bunched in to about 4 games under 500, that 8-game span of record. They can get back into that. Like, they really can. It can happen fast. You're one really, really good week of going 6-2.
You're an 8.
You're right. You're an 8-2 record, or a 12-3 and a 15-game stretch away from being right back in the thing. That's why does that give you more hope or less, because you have to jump so many teams?
Well, your answer. Well, that's the thing. There's so many teams to jump right now. That makes a little, especially like, I think you can almost throw the wild card out. Like, you almost have to. Like, you almost have to think the wild cards. 2 teams are coming from the East. 2 are probably coming from the West.
How far are they out? I don't know if that's true.
I don't even know.
The Mets are kind of abysmal right now.
Yeah, but they're still 8 games better than we are.
Yeah, but that's so are the Brewers.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but they also just got, like, they're getting their guys back as well. They're getting Scherzer and Verlander back. And
we are 7 games back of the wild card.
How many teams above us?
Pittsburgh.
How many teams above us?
Well, there's only 1 team below us, if that's easier.
So, okay. All right. So here's what I would say. I want to believe that is in them, because I do think talent-wise, it's there. Like, it's there. But it still feels like there's something off. So until they give me an 8-2 stretch, I can't really say that I think it's there, because I will go back to, I don't trust 40% of our starting pitching to go out there and ever win you a game. That's the problem. I don't count right now on Matthew Liberatore to go out there and shut down an opponent and win you a game. I definitely don't count on Waino to go out there and and I know we only gave up 3 runs. I get that.
He's giving you a chance to win, though. Like, if the offense is performing well and Waino's your 5, and he's going 5, giving up 3 every game, basically.
Well, he's giving up way more than that, but
like 3 a game. That's what I'm saying.
He's giving up almost a run. I mean, he's giving up almost a run every 1 1/3 inning. Like, that's pretty rough.
He's going 5 and giving up 3. That's about the pace he's on. That's a 6 ERA, right?
Yeah. Hey, I want to see. I don't know. I can't say yes.
I'm just saying that gives you a chance. But I will say they've gone on an 8-2 run. They did that recently. They have it in them. The thing that I have is this team seems to sulk when it doesn't go their way. Like, for a while. That's not a good quality. Like, you've got to be like, and you know what it is. Momentum's only as good as your next day starting pitcher. Well, the Cardinals had no momentum yesterday, and Jack Flaherty is pretty damn good, so they won a game. Yep. But before that, they weren't going well, and your next day starting pitcher was Adam Wainwright, and it was Liberatore. And I'm not shitting on either of those 2 guys. I still think they both can help you win games in 2023. But if your next day starting pitcher is going to be meh, and you're already down a little bit, it's tough. But when you have a game like yesterday where Jack Flaherty goes toe-to-toe with John Gray, who was dominant, and all you needed was 1 swing and you won the game, that's what that means. And that's where this front office has, I think, severely overlooked what a great starting pitcher can do for you, and what 3 or 4 really good ones can do for you. Because they look at it like, well, we can kind of get more value out of a Montgomery because we're only paying him $10 million than we would out of, $30 million to a Rodon. And while, yeah, I get where you're coming from because of the defense, which has been bad, by the way, we might want to talk about that. It's just, there's a different energy to the stadium when you arrive and, like in 2019, when you went to a game and Flaherty was starting, you feel like you're winning, like you're going to win this game. But when you're there and it's, I don't know, he has a 5.5 ERA, what's going to happen? It's a different feeling for us and the players. They know it too. But we haven't talked about this enough. The Cardinals are 26th in baseball in defensive runs saved. Yeah. Where has that gone? because they've been the best defensive team in the National League the last 2 years. How has that just gone away?
Do you think let me ask you this. Do you think it's just lack of continuity of a defense? Like Tommy comes in as a gold glove shortstop, gold glove caliber shortstop, right? Within a day of Paul DeJong's return, he's now a second baseman. Now, then, because of injuries and because of underperformance, whatever, however you want to look at it, now he's a left fielder. It just seems like Donovan, gold glove, and he does everything right, but he's not playing second base every day. Like we thought coming in, it was going to be Nato, Edman, Donovan, and Goldie, and that infield is elite. Now, Gorman, to be fair, has played very good defense at second base. So, but it's because of the really terrible start by Tyler O'Neill, the injury again to Dylan Carlson, the Jordan Walker demotion, the Lars Nootbaar injury at the beginning of the year, and now again. I mean, when you start to play, I mean, when you are playing 4 or 5 guys probably every night out of position, that's going to add to it. I mean, it has to. Like you're not. Yeah. And again, Paul DeJong has kind of thrown a wrench into things with coming back and starting to hit well. Now he had a decent series and he had some hits in Texas, but he's also really kind of fallen off offensively. But he is still going to play solid defense. We know that.
Yeah, well, he's just one of those guys where, like, right now he's 15% above league average, playing great defense. Like, I don't know if he's going to maintain that because he's really been bad lately and he was really great to start. But if he can find some kind of middle ground, what he's going to give you, at least at shortstop. What's troubling to me is like Nolan Arenado is a negative defensive run saved at third base. Like, that's not acceptable. That's not what you can be. And I don't want to keep bagging on him, but Gorman's good at second base at times, and he does some things that normal, like people that actually second baseman most of the time don't do, like things Tommy Edman would never do. He wouldn't try to flip the ball behind his back and throw it almost at the runner. But yeah, I mean, I the thing that frustrates me about this conversation, and we need to get to Ollie here in a second because I know that's a big conversation, but it goes back on, well, we need Schilt because he did the fundamentals, and Ollie's not doing that, obviously. Well, Mike Schilt had Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Dylan Carlson in his outfield. Those are all 3 guys that have played center field for us. They're all 3, like 2 Gold Glovers, 1 guy who is just below that caliber of outfielder. Right now, Ollie has Brendan Donovan, who's a second baseman, Tommy Edman, who's a second baseman, and Jordan Walker, who's a third baseman in their outfield. Like that's what they have right now. And somehow that's on Ollie. I don't understand that line of thinking at all. And if you could tell me a different outfield alignment you'd want to do to make that better, I'd go for it. Mercado hasn't been good defensively.
No.
And Burleson and Yepez are not outfielders. So I don't understand that, but let's get to Ollie, I think.
Okay,
we have to
first,
talk
before we
him.
do, it feels like this team, like I almost brought up the point that it feels like this team doesn't hit home runs. You know, like it feels that way. Would it shock you to know that they're 5th in Major League Baseball in home runs?
No.
They come in bunches, right? Like that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like they massively come in bunches.
Well, they had series. They had like series where they hit like 15.
Right.
Like a ton.
I mean, 85 home runs, that's a lot, but it does feel like you go to Cincinnati, not a lot of home runs. You go to Pittsburgh, not a lot of home runs. You go to, I mean, obviously Goldie hit the 2 in Cincinnati. I get that. Gorman hit the 2 in Pittsburgh, whatever. But then you go to Texas and you hit what, two home runs, right? Nolan hit 1 and Burley hit 1. I think that's it.
No,
Walker hit 1.
Walker and Contreras both hit 2.
Okay, so I was wrong. So 4, they hit more than what I thought. It just feels like the power outage comes at the worst times for this team. But yeah, let's get to Ollie. Mosaic comments. You want to start there with where he said it? Essentially, you want to start there and go from there.
So what he said was that he thinks Ollie's done a great job, which to me, that's weird. Just because I don't know I don't know what he's basing that off of. I don't know if it's player feedback, if it's assistant coach feedback. You know, I don't know what it is. But saying someone who has a losing record has done a great job is weird because I just don't know what he's basing that on. Here's where I want to get to. And there's going to be a lot of people in the comments, I can already guess, that are saying to fire Ollie. I understand. I get where you're coming from, and I'm not even going to argue with you because I can't argue that this team's not underperforming because they are. What's getting weird to me is people now jumping back on the Mike Schilt bandwagon, who, by the way, noteworthy, hasn't been hired by anybody else. He's a third base coach for the San Diego Padres. He is not anyone. No one's seeking him to manage. Okay, right now, or he'd be a manager. How do we evaluate Ollie Marmol and truly, but also say, well, Moselak's built a faulty roster. Well, the players are vastly underperforming. Like Nolan Arenado is not going to get any lessons on how to field and hit from Ali Marmal. Like that's not on Ali. So how do we even evaluate Ali fairly, truly fairly, when we say that there's so many flaws that are completely out of his hands?
I think the only answer I can give you, and you and I've talked about this off air in a lot of conversations, is that in the end, the manager's number one job is to get the most out of his players every night. So when you say the players are underperforming, which we all agree they are, like whether it's his fault or not, he's the captain of the ship. And he's the one, like it, you look at college programs, bro. Like look at college
That's
football.
different. That's different.
Okay, hold on. Let's just before you try to negate what I'm going to say, look around at every professional sport. My God, Monty Williams just got fired in Phoenix. He had because Chris Paul got hurt. That's literally what and the front office dealt all their depth. So what I'm telling you, hold on. What I'm telling you is whether or not we agree, I don't know how you base Ali. I don't know how you give Ali a good grade. His first year, he got us in the playoffs. Like, so that was pretty good, right? With the Pools and Molina circus kind of going on. So he did a pretty good job there getting us in the playoffs. Now they fall on the face. I'm not saying he's going to be fired. You know that I don't believe he should be fired. However, I will tell you that the answer is when teams struggle, they don't get rid of ownership. They usually don't get rid of the GM, and they ain't getting rid of the players. So very early, they start with the scapegoats of the bench coaches or the first and third base coach or the hitting coach or the pitching coach. And then it goes straight up to up the rungs to the captain of the ship. That's all I can tell you is that the number one job of a coach or a manager is to get the best out of their players and put them in the best positions. I believe he does that for the most part. There's a lot of questions with the lineup. As far as I have, there's also questions with the bullpen, but every manager has those questions with the bullpen. Every single one, because you only got what you got and you can only use them when you can use them. So I don't know what you want. Like, that's what people fail to understand is it's not just the Cardinals. It's not just Ali. Go watch Major League Baseball. There's guys who are down for 2 nights. Right. Agreed. That's what but the only answer I can give you is that in the end, all of it lies at the feet of the manager. That's it. That's all I can tell you.
I get your point and I understand, but I get that line of thinking, but the end goal here should be to find a way for the Cardinals to get better, not only for this year, but for next year, and to try and be a championship team again. That should be the goal. So if you just want to be a scapegoat, get a scapegoat just because you want ahead, that's stupid to me, because if it's not on Ollie, and maybe Ollie's a great manager, the best example I can give you is Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler was scapegoated in Philadelphia for a shitty team that they built. They said it was on him because he made one mistake going out to the mound twice. Then he got fired, and then he went over to San Francisco, and in his first year there, he won 111 games, or so 107 games, and had the best record in franchise history. So I'm tired of hearing this, and I'm tired of getting online and seeing everything. I get being upset with Ali Marmal. I'm not saying he's done a great job this year. I honestly don't even know. I don't know how to evaluate that, to be quite honest.
Well, neither do they. The people online don't know either.
But what I am going to say is if your answer to everything is to fire the manager, you are not thinking nearly critically enough. You're letting John Mozeliak and the entire organization off very easily by saying it's the manager. And you're also saying that you want him to hire a fourth manager. So let's go down this hypothetical that you do want him fired. I do not, but we can go down this road if you want to. So now you want him, you think he fired, okay, so he hired Matheny, fired him. He was a mess. He hired Schilt. Schilt ran our bullpen into the ground and hurt Alex Reyes. Alex Reyes still hasn't pitched since then. He's out. And now they hired Ollie Marmol. You want him fired just because the team is bad. So now you're going on to the next guy, and somehow you think it's going to be better somehow. So
can we also talk about, though, these same people that you're addressing? Also, can we talk about the hilarity of they now think Mike Matheny was a good manager? Like, dude was fired also in Kansas City. Like, let's not forget Kansas City, a team with zero expectations. That's how bad he was. He was so bad here.
I don't want to go down like insulting people, but
no, me neither. But it's
still like, to me, I don't know I don't understand this way of thinking. And Albert was on Peacock, and I know maybe you can say he has to say this. He doesn't, but he did say players loved playing for Ollie. Like they
Yep.
loved it. He loved playing for Ollie. That's a guy that played for Tony La Russa, who everyone holds in such high
And Joe
regard here in
Madden.
St. Louis. He played. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that wasn't as fun. He probably, but he's played for some really, really great, one really great manager. Well, no, Mike Scioscia was a great
Mike
manager.
Scioscia was a
He
great
played for Mike
manager.
Scioscia as
Yes.
well. He's played for some great managers. He said he loved playing for Ollie. They were very close. They're still very close. Close. I don't understand why we can't challenge ourselves more than to just jump to Ollie. And here's the thing that pisses me off more than anything. And this is, I'll get off my soapbox after this. But every time I see a thread that's like 10 reasons why Ollie Marmol should be fired, one or two of the reasons on there are how he speaks to the media and how and his cadence and how he speaks. If your reasoning for why a manager should be fired has anything to do with how he talks to the media, who all, by the way, speak very highly of how he talks to them, because he's very respectful to all of them, or two is because he is grouchy sometimes, then you have no reason to fire this manager. It's just you with a personal vendetta against him, and it's stupid. He has not, his team is underperforming. So I get that. He should be criticized for that. No one is above criticism in this entire organization this year. Not the players, not the manager, not the front office, not the owner. Everybody can get criticized. But that does not mean that you shit can somebody for something that has nothing to do with his job. It's so stupid to me.
Well, that's where, but you see, hold on, everything we see from these people is stupid. Like, you know that. Like,
But I just
let's
think I just don't understand that line of thinking. I think we should, if your first thought when someone is like when the offense is heading poorly, if your first thought was fire Jeff Albert, that's stupid to me. If your first thought when the
right.
pitchers
It was that
were
was what
pitching
everybody
poorly,
wanted.
it was fire great. It was fire Mike Maddox. If it's, you know, now your team's not playing well, so it's fire Ollie Marmol. At what point in this city do we say maybe the players just aren't playing well? Maybe the front office just didn't give him a team that was good enough to compete and good and not a good enough collection of maybe personalities, maybe a talent, whatever it is, to overcome adversity. Maybe that's what happened. But we jump to Ollie Marmol is the guy that speaks to me every night after we lose. So I'm already upset. So now I'm more upset at him because he gave me a reason for why something happened. Like if Ollie Marmol didn't speak to the media, would he be getting all this criticism? I don't think so.
Also, to be just to add to what you said, also shame on us, partially, which nobody wants to say. So that's a lot of it. For believing that Tyler O'Neill was going to have the bounce back season that we said he would. For believing that Jordan Walker was going to put together a Julio Rodriguez type season. Those were things we believed could happen. For believing
Well, I wouldn't have said that for Walker.
well, you know what I'm saying. Like the top number one prospect, that was were the expectations.
I mean, yeah, he had
For believing that Contreras was going to come in and just pick right back up where he was in Chicago. Like all of these things that we thought were going to happen and that we knew needed to happen have not happened. And then you add on to the struggles of Nolan Arenado. You add on to the absolute ridiculousness of the outfield. Nothing has gone right. I'm not saying that, like you said, Ollie's not above criticism. I'm just trying to explain to you that that is the reason why but the arguments against Ollie are not valid.
I get it, but listen to what you just said. They're starting out like Tyler O'Neill gone. Dylan Carlson gone. Nootbaar has been gone twice. Jordan Walker was not his. It was not Ollie Marmol's choice to send Jordan Walker down.
No.
And if you think it was, you don't know much about how baseball operations work. It wasn't Ollie Marmol's choice to pull Wilson from behind the plate. If you think it was, you know nothing about guys that get new contracts because they're going to be played if the front office wants them played. So it doesn't make any sense to me why everything just gets lumped on Ollie, but I guess it does because you have guys like John Moselle who doesn't come out and address the media very often. You have Ollie Marmol standing up there after every single loss saying things, and sometimes he gets a little pissy and he gets testy because the guy wants to win. Obviously, that's his job. He also doesn't want to get fired. So I understand the anger towards Ollie Marmol. I truly do get it. I'm not even going to say that maybe he should be fired. I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe he should. Maybe that clubhouse doesn't like it. I just don't know. But what I will say is, if your criticism begins and ends of this team with Ollie Marmol, you're letting too many people off easily. You're acting like I don't think Nolan Arenado would want Ollie Marmol to be held responsible for his poor play. That doesn't make any sense. Like Nolan Arenado's played under managers who have been fired, and he was MVP candidates during those seasons. So that's not what this is. I think we need to look at it more of the players aren't performing and why is that happening? Maybe it is Ollie. I just don't believe that to be the case.
Yeah. And also, like, the other thing is who are you going to hire? What are you going to make Joe McEwing now another guy who has zero managerial experience?
The guy you didn't
the guy
even want to
again?
be,
Like and that was your second pick for the bench coach. Let's
for
not
the bench
forget.
coach, right?
Right.
Like,
So is that what
no
you're
offense to him,
gonna
but
do? Stop with the Joe Madden talk. He's 70 years old. No, we don't need and also he hates analytics. He's not
and
coming to
also
the
yeah, he
Cardinals.
got fired
Also, I have zero.
because
I
of
don't even
analytics.
think he's interested in coming back to manage. So like let's stop just saying it's not as easy as fire one. What is your solution? Your solutions are if your solutions are Joe Madden or Joe McEwing, well then you're not really making any logical sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's no solution. The solution is your players have to perform. Adam Wainwright has to pitch better. Matthew Liberatore has to pitch better. Nolan Arenado has to be more consistent. And Wilson Contreras has to not be worse than Andrew Kisner. Like, those are your solutions. They're in-house. And that's when Mo came out and said, we don't, if our solutions are outside, we're in a lot of trouble because
Yes.
we can't do that for another month and a half. There might be something you can add to this team that really helps you get over the hump. Like we said to start the year, we thought that would be the case where they'd kind of probably be in first place for most of the year. And at the deadline, you have a chance to add somebody that truly makes you, maybe as good as the Dodgers, as good as the Braves. Well, we were wrong, but that was the thought of most people, I'm sure, inside and outside the organization. But right now, this team, like, so at some point, the players have to step up and be held accountable.
Right.
At some point.
If you're going to blame Ali for hitting 186 with the bases loaded and having a 586 OPS with the bases loaded. If you believe that the players are going up there and they're saying, man, Ali really made me mad when he did that to Tyler O'Neill. I'm going to make an out here. That's how you sound when you say things like that.
That's what you're saying, basically.
That's how you sound. Right. So it doesn't make any logical sense. Again, I don't think you can judge Ali Marmol on 228 games, whatever it's been with the playoffs.
And he has a winning record in that stretch.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. Also, by the way, and I know everybody will be like, well, they have to say that they work for the Cardinals. Well, Derek Gould does not work for the Cardinals. No. I mean, Brendan Schaefer does not work for the Cardinals. Jeff Jones does not work for the Cardinals. John Denton does not work for the Cardinals. Katie Woo does not work for the Cardinals.
John Denton kind of does.
Okay. So he works for the Athletic, right? He writes for the Athletic?
He works at MLB.com.
Okay. Well, fair. That's fair. But
he's more affiliated than the other guys.
Yes. When they say that the players absolutely love and respect Ali, I'm going to believe them more than anybody on Twitter who says, "Oh, in my eye, he's lost the clubhouse." Like you have zero idea.
1 second, hold on. Let's not even name the beat writers. Albert fucking Pujols said it.
So did Nolan Arenado, by the way.
Nolan Arenado said it was his favorite manager he's ever had.
Yeah.
So and did that change after the Tyler O'Neill situation?
No.
To me, the Tyler O'Neill talks that's still going on, for fuck's sake. One, I think he was kind of proven right, considering that Tyler O'Neill had a back spasm.
And I was pro Tyler, by the way. I'll admit it.
Yeah, I wasn't. And considering he hasn't played in a month, considering Matt Holliday came on to 101 ESPN and said this has been a problem for more than just this year, even. It had been definitely not just one play. So I think he's been proven right by the fact that Tyler O'Neill once again gone for months at a time. But we keep talking about that. If you think the clubhouse, if you think the leaders in that clubhouse were that mentally weak, that one calling out of a player derailed this entire season, then this team stood zero chance anyway. That's what I'll say. Because that means you really can't handle adversity.
Agreed.
At all.
Also, it is fair, I think, and it all goes back to me to Mo and his group. Like, you built a roster that's flawed. Like, you've continued to have a roster that's flawed the entire year when you were carrying 3 catchers. Because you were DHing one because you said he couldn't, whatever you said. I'm not going to get rehash that. Yeah. But then you were also carrying 6 starters, which means you were down 1 bullpen arm. But yet one of your arms wasn't even pitching. So if we're going to talk about it, like, let's talk about the roster creation. That's number one. And then also the handling of Jordan Walker, which I have heard countless amount of former big leaguers talk about, including Jim Edmonds, by the way. Shout out to Jimmy, who his pockets are empty. He gives no fucks. He gives no fucks anymore. And the way he talked about it was spot on. The terrible handling of Jordan Walker by this front office. I mean, there's people, former GMs, talking about how they can't believe what they've seen from this organization with what they did with Jordan Walker. They've stumbled at every starting block they've had this year.
Every opportunity they've had to fuck up, they fucked up.
Yeah.
And the thing, I do want to get to that in 1 second, because there's something I want to say about that. But just the Jordan Walker thing, like, yeah, obviously I really respect Jim going on there and saying that. I think Chip Carey was kind of uncomfortable, but Jim Edmonds has the cachet to do it, so do it. I appreciate that from him very much. I disagree with some of the sentiment behind it because I do think there were reasons, maybe don't let the guy free fall in the big leagues, and maybe you see a trend coming and you think it's going to result in a really bad stretch of baseball for Jordan Walker because of what he was doing, and you send him down and say, let's not let this kid's confidence get destroyed. But I do think they handled it way too publicly, as I think they've done with a lot of things this year. I think they're almost telling too much for some reason for an organization that generally doesn't tell you anything. It's been very strange. But the last point I wanted to make, the last point I really care to make, and then we can, if you have anything else to hit on, we can, is I wanted to ask you, do you think if this team doesn't get out of this funk or, this 11 game under 500, whatever, if they don't get back into the playoffs, do you think that will ultimately be a good thing for the organization? Because maybe they finally found out that their way of doing things had so much, I don't know the right word, but so much variance can happen if you build a roster that's flawed. It's one or two injuries and your team's screwed. And they're finding that out. Do you think it'd be good for them? And do you think if they were to have a season where Mo's first losing season as a Cardinals executive ends up making him reevaluate the way he goes about things for next offseason?
No, the answer to your question is no. I don't.
I don't agree with that, but
okay, that's
why
fine.
do you think
and
that?
Because the roster mismanagement goes back to 2013 with Michael Wacha, 12, 14. When did we lose to whenever that year was?
14.
Okay, it goes back to that, and it's happened in the playoffs every time, almost every time.
That's not really relevant.
Hold on.
Though.
I don't believe that we have built. I don't think that they're going to say, "Oh, we did." I just don't see that from Mo. I just don't see it.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you think him having his first embarrassing season as an executive, because I know 2007 they didn't make the playoffs, but they still won over. They were still over 500, and they were 1 year removed from a World Series, so nobody gave a shit anyway. This would be his first stain on his reputation as a Cardinal. It's this season was a massive failure, and it's on you, and you can't hide from it. I personally think it could be a good thing for the organization. But I also don't want to say that I want that to happen because I want them to be in the playoffs. Right. I want to watch the Cardinals in the playoffs every chance I can get. But I do think it could be. I don't know the answer. I think Mozeliak, he's got at most 2 years left in St. Louis as the Pobo. Maybe he'll move up to the president or something later. But he doesn't have much left. He basically said that before the year. I don't think he wants to leave on a low note. I really don't.
I hope you're right. The past performances lead to future. The saying that I'm going for there. But either way, right? Future, whatever it is. You know what I'm trying to say.
But to be fair,
I just don't see it. I don't see Mo taking blame on this. I think they blame underperformance from the players. I think they blame injuries. I think they blame a schedule, a 19 game in a row. Hold on, let me finish. Okay. I think they blame those things instead of.
To be fair, you're saying all of that based on zero track record of that happening, considering there's never been a season like this under him.
No, I agree. But the two that they missed the playoffs were, what was it? 3 that they missed the playoffs? 2 they missed the playoffs.
They were still right in it. But if they keep on this track, Dad, they're going to be done by August.
Are they in the Central? I don't know.
I mean, they're going to be. I mean, if you're 10 games under 500 come September, you're done.
Right. I agree. I don't know that answer. I'd like to think that the answer is yes. But what does that do? Does that, even if it is a stain on his, does that make Bill DeWitt now go to $220 million in the salary cap? I don't see that. I don't see them going to 200 in salary.
There has been a lot of reports that say that Mozeliak has pushed for a higher payroll, and maybe this is the time where it's see, this is why I wanted the higher payroll.
Yep.
And maybe that is something that happens. I can't say that for a fact.
Yeah,
I don't.
I have a hard time seeing that. I hope you're right, but this franchise does not. I just think right now, to be fair, this franchise is very. Even if they do go on a run, it just still feels to me like this franchise is behind so many other franchises in Major League Baseball that it's not even going to matter if they go on a run, because we've seen it the last 3 years. They're going to get, even if they get in, what are they going to do? They're going to play 2 games and they're done. That is honestly how I feel. Now, I know the old adage, you get in, you get hot. The Phillies did it last year. They only won 86 games. I understand all of that, but we don't have Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola.
Well, hold on.
Let's go on and on.
We have players better than Kyle fucking Schwarber, so get out of here with that. With his
160 batting average. When you add into some of the
we
parts,
very much do have players like.
But we don't have Aaron Nola or Zach Wheeler. We don't.
That's true, but you named Bryce Harper. We have an MVP in our lineup. Bang.
I get it, but come on.
We do.
Okay. All right.
And we have a second MVP candidate batting fourth.
But we don't have all those surrounding guys.
batting fifth, and we do. The problem, we don't have the pitchers.
Well,
That's the
they
thing.
haven't
We don't have the
performed.
pitching.
We might have them. They haven't performed.
Okay, stop it. Okay, and the Phillies haven't either. Cool.
This year they have not. I agree. My point is, I don't know that this team is just one of those organizations or teams that can get in, get hot. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they just get in, they get hot,
I think
and
any
next thing you
team
know,
can do that.
they can.
I do think though it's not really luck. Here's the thing. The reason the Phillies were allowed to get hot is because Zach Wheeler had a great performance, because Aaron Nola had a great performance in game 2. That's why they were able to get hot, because they have players that could, at least if your offense is sputtering, give you a chance in game 1.
Right.
And then obviously Helsley blew up because of his finger, and then we saw how game 2 went, where the Cardinals just fell lifeless. I get it. I still think this team, if they get in, would be dangerous. I don't think anybody would want to face our lineup at full strength in the postseason, because it could get hot and do a lot of damage. But they've got to get there, and right now they're not on track to do it.
Last thing before we get out of here. One, shout out to Goldie for his 400th double. We did in all of this that has been missed on here. One of 195 guys to ever play the game to have 400 doubles. That's incredible. Whenever you start to get into side those numbers, now everyone you make, you're just going to go up. Everyone you hit, you're going to go up the list. Let me ask you this. We're watching this Memphis team rake, right? They called Lucan up. Very happy for him. Super pumped for him. Got to see the family was there in Texas when we were there. We did not talk to the Baker family, but they were there. Mason Wynn is raking and playing incredibly well. Ivan Herrera is playing incredibly well there. Gomez, streaky as always. Do you see a time where any of those guys where you start to think about calling one of those guys up? Or do you think they're just going to leave them down there for the entire year, let them play it at AAA and not be needed? Because I guess here's my question. So it's a two-parter. All right.
That was your question.
My second part is with Mason Wynn knocking down the door, Nolan Gorman proving he can play second base. What does it do with guys like Brendan Donovan and Tommy Edman? Do you need both? You want both? Do you need both of them on the team? Like, I don't know. It's a great question to ask for the future of the St. Louis Cardinals.
I'll start with the first question. One, I think if the Cardinals are still either teetering on, death on the side of being, completely out of it, or they're completely out of it by August, I would like to see both Herrera and Wynn up playing a lot. Because that gives you a better idea of what you're doing for 2024. And I think at some point, we're going to have to say that might be what they need to look at. I hope it doesn't get to that, but if it does get to this point where 2023 is a lost cause, those two need to be up and getting some exposure at the big league level. And the second question, what was the second question?
Tommy and Donovan.
Oh, Tommy and Donovan. I don't know where this team would be without those two, but I know that they've really needed them, and I think they're going to need them again next year. To have two guys that can fill it anywhere and do an admirable job anywhere. Like Tommy Evans has done a great job in center field. Brandon Donovan has had some wonky plays in left, but for the most part, been very, very good. And they're both producing at a pretty solid rate offensively over the last month. Like not incredible, but pretty solid. Those two guys are extremely valuable for your organization. And I think Tommy Edman will be the second baseman. I really do, when Mason wins the shortstop. I think you're going to see Gorman probably move around a little bit, I think you might see him play some first at some point in time. He's going to DH.
I do not want to see him at first base. Put him in the outfield.
Brendan Donovan plays.
I understand that.
I'm not saying he's going to play there every day. Paul Goldschmidt's going to play there every day. I'm saying you can move around and play there sometimes. No, I don't think you need to move those guys, especially not just to do it. If there's if there's like a big pitcher out there and they really want Tommy Edman or they really want Brendan Donovan, would I consider it? Yes. But do I think those two are massive parts of, if this Cardinals season gets turned around, they're going to be a big part of why it happened? I do. I think they both will be big parts of that.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I also don't really know what the market, like if you're looking to trade a Tommy Edman they're so valuable to this team. That doesn't mean that other organizations see that the same way. We just don't know. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend. If you're in town in St. Louis, go watch the Cardinals play the Reds. Ben Lively and Jordan Montgomery tomorrow night. I think 6:45, maybe, is that right? Or 7:05. I don't know if they've moved it back to 7 o'clock yet. So either way,
we didn't do our
on Saturday and Wayno on Sunday.
Yeah, against Hunter Green. So that one should be fun.
Yeah.
We got to do our predictions, then we can get out of here.
Okay,
go.
We win 1 of 3.
Yeah,
and the guy who hits, I mean,
it could be a pitcher. You can pick a pitcher that's going to pitch well for one of the 3 games.
I'll go Miles then. That's my win Saturday.
Okay.
I'll go Michaelis. I don't trust anybody on our offense.
Yeah, I think
A week ago, I said the same thing about our rotation.
Yeah, I think they win 2 of 3 because they have to.
Of course you do.
Because they have to. They have to. If they lose if they lose this series or get swept, the season's over. And I think Nolan Arenado is going to get hot because I think he's kind of been getting hot. And I'm going with if Nolan Arenado's hot, the team's going to win because that's been the rule since he's been here.
Okay.
So I think that's what's going to happen. And I don't know if I really do think it. I was going to go, did they lose 2 or 3, but you took it, so it wasn't as fun. So I'm saying that we win 2 or 3.
I did bring out the Rangers hat, the new lid, just because that team is fun to watch, man. That team, they all hit 300. And if they don't, they're hitting bombs away.
Yeah.
So that is a fun team to watch. That was a great stadium. Had a good time there. Thank you guys so much as always for watching. Like I said, you can find us on all the socials. Hit that YouTube subscribe button, or on Apple or on Spotify or whatever you're listening to us to. Tell a friend. We greatly appreciate it. Get out, see some live music. Be kind, everyone. Talk to you soon. Go Cards.